I'd hired people to be a firefighter to put out a fire and do a task rather than hiring purely on values and then being able to upskill people. Is I naively thought, and I'm sure many businesses have gone through this, I thought that this was a shortcut to growth, hiring people who are already there in terms of can do that task really well. But actually, when they're then integrated in the business for a period of time, you find out that they're very disaligned in terms of where they want to be, what their motivations are, how they want to feel in work and how they want to work with people. So that's probably the thing which has been the biggest learning curve, but we've managed to correct that over the last probably 2.5 years and really have a team filled with A players only that our customers really love working with, and our NPS score kind of reflects that. It's just kind of climbed and climbed and climbed over the past 4 years.
Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where I go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Michael Knowles, founder of Raw Digital Marketing. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm very good, Stefan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, and appreciate you joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey, what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today at Raw Digital Marketing.
Okay, so I'll try and keep it as concise as possible. So I've had my own company for 10 years. My original background is I'd worked a lot in sales at Sage and places like this, at Orange before it was A. I've got 2 different kind of qualifications in marketing, and I always dreamt of kind of being able to lean into that and make a living from that because I found it so interesting. So I'd gone to some entry-level positions in some smaller agencies around the region. The first one I went to, which I'm grateful for, is started doing some content, started doing some basic social. That wasn't really for me, but I started to get an insight as to how marketing affects businesses directly and how agencies start to interact with them. I then became a marketing manager of a sales organisation, which was a nice blend of my background, current skills and kind of future direction. That was at Durham Lane. And they were incredible for me. They took the handbrake off in terms of training and allowed me to kind of accelerate my personal growth. From there, I went to a much larger agency, which I thought was the golden goose in terms of opportunity. And I'm sure you might have been there before, where when it looks too good, sounds too good, it probably is too good. This was the kind of agency who replaced values with popcorn and a pool table and a PlayStation on a big screen, and didn't align with me as a person. And I was there for a relatively short period of time, but when I was there, I was managed poorly, and I also had a member of the senior leadership team think certain things were okay around jokes around being homophobic and racist in an environment filled with people which I found gobsmacking, to be honest. And I said to my wife, this is killing me. I can't be around this. And fortunately, I've got an amazing partner, Kate, and she said, do it before we have kids. She said, it's been staring you in the face for a long time, so do it before we have kids. So I handed my notice in the next day with no safety net, told them the reasons that I was leaving, and then set up Raw. This isn't how we run now, but I went online for some free templates. A good friend of mine and my wife's, Laura, she helped register the business in Starbucks in Gateshead because I was terrified of registering on Company's House. And she said, there's nothing to be frightened of. Run it with the values that you have and you'll be okay. So away we went. My first set of clients were a women's hair and beauty salon, which, look at me, that is so far away from what I am. But Jamie, I would now do anything for her because she took a risk on me. And she's just along from where I am now, at my home office today. So that was the first one. Then we got a cybersecurity client through LinkedIn, asking me for support on HubSpot. I got some templated contracts online, got some insurances, and away that we went. That was kind of phase one. I started writing some content and thought leadership stuff around marketing, my journey into marketing. And I got a phone call saying a large organisation would like to have a chat with me in Newcastle, in Grace Hotel. I only had 2, maybe 3 clients at the time, so I thought it might be timeshare, but I'll go and I'll just see. And I went, and it turned out to be Google.
Wow.
Is someone at Google and someone in an organisation called Upskill had read some of my content online and found it interesting and thought that I would be a good fit for a Google training project, which was training other people on behalf of Google. And that changed my life. I was trained by the very best, and I was trained by a guy in terms of being able to speak with confidence and getting that monkey off your back of confidence issues. A guy called Gori Yaya, probably the most important person in my career, told me how to hold myself. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but how to actually believe that what I'm saying is okay, and that it's okay to not have all the answers and to give an answer to the best of your ability at the time. And if someone else knows more, that's fine, and that was great. So I started working, while starting to run Raw, I started to work for the Google Digital Garage project, and then I got picked up by Google Europe, and during COVID I started speaking from this very office on Google's YouTube channel. So I was the very first person to run Google Digital Garage courses for Google Europe on YouTube. Terrifying. And talking to audiences of 10, 15,000 people at a time on YouTube, as you probably know, can be daunting. But again, it's a different skill set. Following that, I started working for a little while at Newcastle University, rewriting some content and helping inspire young people to understand analytics, not just looking at influencer marketing, but understanding the mechanics that go on in the background. That was really important to me. But then following that, I did that for a little while, all running together. But Raw really started to take off after the first lockdown. We really started to pick up pace after losing some clients because of our client mix initially. We started to pick up pace as more businesses became even more conscious of being able to operate online. So they started to pivot, and then we started to pick up traction. And unfortunately, I had to leave Google, which was hard to take that incredible role away. I left the university and then just focused all in on Raw. And for the last probably 5 years, it's just been pure focus just on Raw, building the business, building the team, going through some pain points, understanding that what matters to me is really values. Having a business that every morning I'm motivated to go to, that my staff are, and that I can look at myself in the mirror, that I'm not a penny pincher, that I believe in doing things right, and that I can honestly say I have a business that lives and breathes its values, sometimes at our detriment, but it means that people value you and people come back, and you build a reputation for being known as the solid, reliable performance agency rather than someone who promises many things and delivers nothing. And yeah, that's where we are right now.
Wow, it's an amazing story, Michael. I can't lie. It's very contrasting at the start. The 2 businesses that you worked in have shaped Raw now, because you worked at one that you were really thankful for, but the second one you knew exactly what you didn't want. You knew exactly how you didn't want to run your own agency or even be a part of that organization. And then another lesson is, like you said, when you had the meeting with that, you didn't know it was Google, in the hotel, and you said, oh, it could have been timeshare. I think a lot of people could have just been like, no, I'm just not even going to turn up to that. But that's such a lesson in actually turning up to things, and finding out what it is, as opposed to writing it off beforehand and being like, no, I'm not going to go to that because it's a waste of my time. But actually, it's actually proven to be such a big opportunity, even to the point of you saying, some of the people in there were the most important people in your business life now, that's taught you lessons, that being able to hold yourself, how to actually speak with confidence, and all them type of things, to be able to, it's obviously shaped you into how you, run Raw now, and how you have that, not just self-confidence, but being competent, knowing that you're very competent in how you speak and how you deliver. It's an amazing story, and it's it's kind of like from one thing to another thing, but it's all of the things before you went, before you left Google and the university. All them things were definitely preparing you for what was to come with Raw, where it's obviously, since the lockdown, which many businesses seen, or online businesses seen, that there was an uptake in everybody needing to, or wanting to be more online fluent, and be, being able their business to be online, has really catapulted you, I would say, into the position that you're in now.
Yeah, I'm a big believer is when you look back on your initial career, a lot of the bad things that happened are just as important as the good things.
Yeah.
And if anything, the bad things help give you more direction and purpose to help you get to where you want to be. Some of the bad managers you might have, the bad organizations, they just give you that fuel to understand, this is not where I want to be. This is not who I want to be. This is who I want to be, and this is the direction I travel in. And it just so happens that then I've been fortunate enough to have some great people further refine and guide me on that way,
Definitely. So what does your role look like today inside Raw Digital Marketing?
Yeah, so my role today, I've been working with some consultants over the last 2 years, an organization called Hydra, American consultants, and they've really helped me understand what my seat needs to be and what the purpose is. So I am a lot less hands-on, I actually started to recruit better. A players only, it's a very American kind of thing, A players only in the business. Someone said to me a while ago, it's better to have a hole than an a-hole in your business. Yep. So we hire just great people and into leadership teams that then I can really trust and lean on to be able to kind of keep their own ship afloat. So my role is managing them, helping them deal with pressures, helping them deal with circumstances they haven't kind of got into before, but then also overseeing some of the more complex projects where they may require another set of experienced eyes. I also run all of the sales element of Raw. I previously passed that when we brought someone in to manage that, and it actually didn't work, and it made me realize that it's actually really important for a business of our size for me to still own that part. One, because of my knowledge; two, because I'm the face and front of the organization at present, and I actually bloody love it. I really enjoy having those conversations and doing discovery process with people. That's what it looks like for me. I'm also kind of sat in that, this might make you cringe, but that visionary seat is, I'm currently looking at ways for us to kind of grow and accelerate. But I've been doing a lot of personal growth probably over the last 2 years, from Tony Robbins to Dan Sullivan and everything in between. And then having these different consultants supporting me, we're looking at ways of improving, whether that be with AI, automation, processes and just ways of working, or making us refine and niche down. Those kind of things from day to day are all on my plate.
Well, that's a big contrast from being in Starbucks and having someone help you set up a company's house to now where you're at now. Do you know what I mean? Having recruiting A-listers, or however you said it, do you know what I mean? People that, are top of their game to oversee them, but while still knowing that, you're the face and that people buy from people, and where you're the face of Raw, that's where they're going to connect with you, definitely.
Yeah.
So, Michael, my next question is, can you walk me through how you currently deliver for clients sort of day to day? What are the things that you do for clients?
Yeah, so my organization, we help 7- and 8-figure B2B brands scale online. Okay, very, very niche in terms of the type of client that we help. SaaS, software, manufacturing, engineering, professional services, that kind of thing. But what we then do is we're not full service, we're actually a search agency. So we actually only do 4 things. We do SEO, which is the organic side of helping businesses get found and attract leads online. We do paid advertising on Google Ads, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We write content for people, but it's all steered around SEO and being cited in AI and LLMs. And then the final thing is we do analytics. And this is the biggest piece of the puzzle, which is actually the simplest. We help people understand how successful their website is and their marketing is. And we put it into really concise dashboards based around metrics that are aligned to business goals. So 4 things. That's what we do. Yeah.
So like, do you have, so per client that you have, do you have people that are designated to that clients? What kind of like structure do you have enabling you to, like, take on more clients as with the people that work under you?
Yeah. So we do have dedicated, so we have heads of who are the ones who actually go on analysis calls with our clients. And then we have a couple of teams underneath there who deliver some of the work. Now, what's been very, very interesting in terms of delivering that and helping us to scale, probably over the last 18 months, has been AI and some automations, working smarter and not utilizing and being distracted by the latest shiny thing, which a lot of organizations are going through right now. Instead, understanding where are the actual pain points within the business, what is grunt work, what are things that can be taken off people's plate to enable them to be the best version of themselves and use their skill.
No, and I think that's the best way to start using AI, 100%. Like you said, lots of people are having shiny object syndrome. There's new tools coming out all the time, but it's what moves the needle for your business. What is enabling you to then be able to give you more hours back, to be able to use them hours on higher strategy or higher leverage outcomes, basically, or roles that you're doing. If you're spending, 2 hours here, 2 hours there, 2 hours there across a whole organization, can mount up to a lot, can't it? Do you know what I mean? And being able to actually pinpoint where they are and then use automation to do that heavy lifting, as you called it, the grunt work, enables people to actually freeze them to be doing things that machines aren't as good as doing, which is the strategy. And that's what makes every business different, is how the people actually, deliver the strategy and the thinking behind it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas machines, I think, human brain is not data in, data out. Do you mean there's a whole bit in the middle? Do you know what I mean? That we're not the best at doing that. Machines are probably better at doing that than us, because we're not made to be looking at numbers and spreadsheets, and they all things that can be done over and over again. I think it's much more better for the human brain, in a communication, in relationships, and strategic thinking.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. The only nuance to it is, and we do it in my role, but also, funnily enough, my wife does it in her role as well, is it's being able to understand and tell the story as to what the picture of data is actually showing. And not doing it in a simplistic sense where you're saying these are the trends, because if you've seen these trends play out before, you tend to be able to kind of either see the story that's happening or see the direction of travel, so that you can avoid that car crash that you've already kind of seen time and time again.
Yeah, no, definitely. And like you said, then if it's a trend that's happening, over and over again, then you can almost, not 100%, but you can predictably think, like, this is where this is going to go in the next sort of time or the next sort of time frame, which obviously, enables you to get ahead, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Michael, obviously you just touched on the automations, side of things, but what parts of the business have you automated, or have you tried to automate that has worked?
What has worked? So it's never finished. I don't believe that this is finished. We're still very much a kind of work in progress, So things that we've automated, we've been able to automate some of our data collection. When we're building big content plans for people, we can actually automate some part of that, where it does huge data collections from a combined set of data sources that we rely on really heavily to extract really authoritative statistics and reporting, so that we can build comprehensive content plans. That's been one. that we've been able to do. The main one, in all honesty, has actually been our workflows between our staff. One of the systems that we use is ClickUp. We moved to ClickUp a while ago away from Asana. And it was because Asana wasn't fit for purpose, just in my opinion, for my kind of business, and it didn't fit with how we actually work. ClickUp does. And then some of the automations that you can do on there, utilizing some AI agents, is fascinating. Whether that be from compiling social, whether it be summarizing where a project is at, whether it be spotting bottlenecks in the workflow ahead of time or during the project itself. They've been really, really fascinating. Also being able to kind of look at some of the content that I want to be able to write. I've found AI very, very useful there to sometimes kind of reframe my initial kind of thought or concept. I found that really useful. And also give me balanced arguments sometimes rather than leaning a bit too heavily into just my way of thinking at all times.
Yeah, no, definitely. Is there any parts of the business that you've tried to automate that hasn't worked?
I don't think there's been ones that we know, because we tend to, once we do it, then we'll tend to be able to kind of get it done. There's been certain elements where we just haven't kind of approached that yet, or we know that we need to. So we need to do definitely some more work in email automation. Definitely in terms of some of those workflows. We've previously done some of it in HubSpot. And I just don't think it was hitting right. I think it needed to be a little bit smarter. So yeah, that definitely needs to be drilled down on. I also think some of the automation that we need to be able to do to speed up the time and the work that goes in between sales discovery and proposal presentation. I think some of that we've started to do, and we're just not quite there. We haven't fully kind of cracked that bit yet.
No, definitely. I think that's high leverage, high value, automating parts of the sales process, for quicker turnarounds, do you know what I mean? For like audits and things like that to be, and proposals, as you mentioned there, because speed to lead is real, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? The quicker you can actually get that out there to them, to the prospect, improves your chances of being able to actually land them quicker.
Yeah, I think one of the key things for me, Stefan, is while we want to understand, and use technology more and more and more, it's making sure that we don't turn transactional, because that is one of the key things that is a differentiator for us, and one of the reasons that people tend to work with a smaller agency, like a boutique style agency like us, is being able to have that personal connection. So we want to automate some processes, but we don't want to get it to the point where we turn into what a large agency is doing, just on a smaller scale, where it becomes more faceless and more transactional and less personable. So it's trying to find that balance between what makes us smarter without losing everything that we're actually known and built for.
No, definitely. Automations should enable businesses like yours, of course, to spend more time to be personable, to have them human conversations with them, to be able to actually explain to them these things, as opposed to taking that away. I feel like it should enable you to do more of it, as opposed to taking it away.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Michael, what is working well right now, and where do you feel any type of friction in the business?
What is working well? So over the last 18 months, we've really, really niched down. We went from an agency, say 2 years ago maybe, an agency that would help anyone who could afford us, at that time, and just needed some help, to one that only helps a very specific type of business. So we dropped 3 services over time to focus on 4. Rather than doing things that we could be good at, we focused on the 4 that we're elite at, and then focusing on 7 and 8 figure B2B brands, and learning to say no to other opportunities who don't fit. Doing that has given us the precision to have conversations where these businesses feel recognized, probably the wrong term. They feel very understood, because we've gone through these processes so many times with businesses who face such similar challenges as them, that they finally feel as though, right, this is an agency who can actually help because they understand the plight that we're in and the situation that we're in, rather than some full service agencies may have not have worked with an advanced manufacturing firm or a defence firm or a SaaS product, whereas we've focused purely on those. So I think refining that, really not being frightened to niche down and speak to a much, much smaller audience, that has worked incredibly well. What hasn't worked so well, to be honest, is we're in a really good state. I'm not saying that we have everything fixed, because we still need to get better. Some of the things previously that haven't worked so well a little bit long time ago, a little bit more in the past now, is we've hired in the past for the wrong things. Yeah, and that was a big learning curve for me. I'd hired people to be a firefighter, to put out a fire and do a task, rather than hiring purely on values and then being able to upskill people. I naively thought, and I'm sure many businesses have gone through this, I thought that this was a shortcut to growth, hiring people who are already there in terms of can do that task really well. But actually, when they're then integrated in the business for a period of time, you find out that they're very disaligned in terms of where they want to be, what their motivations are, how they want to feel in work, and how they want to work with people. So that's probably the thing which has been the biggest learning curve, but we've managed to correct that over the last probably 2.5 years, and really have a team filled with A players only that our customers really love working with, and our NPS score kind of reflects that. It's just kind of climbed and climbed and climbed over the past 4 years.
Well, definitely, something that you learn from, do you know what I mean? And having, when you're hiring, obviously from what you've said then, people who don't have the same values, it probably causes like a disconnect, doesn't it? But also it's led you to now have, the saying A players only, do you know what I mean? To know that that's your standard and that's who you want in your business. So again, it's something like what we spoke earlier, the things that you learn from or things that didn't go as well are often just as valuable as things that have gone well.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually,
so Michael,
is one of the things which has been tricky, which we need to get right, is which communities are we part of? That's been something to try and find that right mix. I think I was doing what a lot of organisations do with their marketing generally, where they try and be in too many places at once. And I think I've just started to correct this now. Certain communities and organisations and forums that are attached to industries, I was spending a lot of money and I was spending a lot of my time networking in some of these spaces that actually it would never lead to anything. And I don't actually think I'd been harsh enough to say, is this the right direction for us? Is there the opportunity in the room here ever? And I think sometimes I was being part of too many and spreading myself thin because I naively thought this is just what we should do, rather than treating it like another marketing channel and saying, okay, is there opportunity here? Is our audience here? Does anyone in the room care that an agency like us is here? And when the answer is yes, they're the ones that we're still part of. And the other ones are ones that we kind of left and moved on from.
Similar to what you said about, your offer and who you serve, do you know what I mean? It's like niching that down to actually people that, are gonna, that the money is in the room, that you're going to be able to relate to them, and they're going to, be able to potentially become clients. You know what I mean? By spreading yourself thin, going to lots of different networking, but actually targeting the right ones, similar to what your offer was, targeting the right people is what's actually going to move the needle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Michael, where do you want to be in terms of business in the next 12 to 18 months?
Where do we want to be? So, I want to crack £1 million turnover. We've got close at times, but now we actually have the fuel and we have the right runway. We have the right team, we have the right strategy, we have the right service mix. So that's where we want to be. That would be an amazing milestone for me. It doesn't mean that that's the ceiling, as I've gone through that process before, when you put a number on it and you eke towards it. But in 12 months, I would love to be able to say in podcast 2, Stefan, we cracked a million. We're now on 1.6 or 1.5. That's where we are. But I also I want to continuously get better and understand some of our sectors more. We've worked with a couple of businesses who are tier 2 and tier 3 contractors in the defence sector, and we want to get better and grow our reach into that space, but we need to understand, how do they speak, how do they want to be, how do they interact, what do they really need. I want to kind of understand far more in some of these niche sectors like SaaS, advanced manufacturing. We've got a good kind of foothold there, but I want to kind of go deeper and I want to understand. And what I would love to do is, in 12 months, 18 months time, is I would like to be a recognised agency in those spaces.
So other than obviously going into different industries or the same industries but knowing them more, is there anything that needs to change, like operationally, for you to crack that 1 million?
Operationally, we're going to have to grow again. We're going to have to hire again, probably within the next 2 months, which will be another great step. We paused on that since we restructured so that the business structure was less flat, where we have actual heads of and then executives sat underneath. What we need is, we're going to have to grow those teams further and then upskill our heads of even more, so that everybody feels comfortable to do their role appropriately. That's what I think we need to do in terms of process. I think, yes, utilising more automation and more AI to be able to speed up some of the grunt work will probably be a big part of that. But we need to face those challenges as we kind of figure them out. I guess you've spoke to a lot of people and you go through these as growing pains. Certain challenges you aren't aware of until you actually hit them. That's why I'm bringing in the best of the best help and consultants to kind of help me look forwards rather than reflecting back or looking at just where we are. We need to look forward and trying to kind of spot some of those potholes to make it as seamless and as smooth as possible to get there.
No, 100%. Michael, my last question is, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
To fix one thing in my business. I think it's probably around time and admin. I find that part particularly tiring. Is we previously tested having some people kind of look at that for us virtually, but it didn't really work. So I think being able to solve some of those administrative issues and grunt work on my side would be really beneficial. But I also think being able to free up some more headspace time for my staff would be really interesting to see. What we've got is a great group of people who are good thinkers and problem solvers, but we need to allow them to actually do that and not sometimes get tied up in doing too much admin. So I would say that's one thing that I would like to wave the magic wand on. And then two is probably waving the magic wand on myself around time. Is I've got 2 kids and I want to be the best version of myself for them. I am like Baloo on the Jungle Book. I'm the big, happy, stupid bear, and I need to remain that. But growing a business can sometimes be really testing and stressful. You might have had a bad day, a bad customer, or you've had a bad couple of calls, or there's something happened within the organisation. Being able to manage that stress and time, for me to be able to switch off, come home, and still be Baloo, and still be dad for my kids, and being able to have the energy and the headspace to be fun and stupid and wrestle with them, play football, dance with them. Those kind of things are just as important as growing the business.
I love that answer, because you've tackled two things on the business side, but also on the family side. And I think so many people, business owners and people who are just working a lot, can relate to both of them things. 100%, Michael. But thank you so much for coming on. I've loved the podcast. Loved hearing about your business and your journey and how you're tackling things. Where can my viewers and listeners reach out to you if they're wanting to potentially collaborate with you or work with Raw Digital Marketing?
So you can visit our website, which is rawdigitalmarketing.co.uk. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Michael Knowles. We have a page there. We do have some softer social media channels, but the key ones where you would really get a flavour as to what we're about, I would probably say would be on LinkedIn. Or you can look us up and probably find us on Google pretty quickly.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, Michael. And everybody that's watching and listening, please like, comment, subscribe, send to a friend, and head over to Michael's LinkedIn page and website if you're looking to collaborate. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.